Simplified Chaos, episode 124.
Life is beautiful and full of chaos.
And it can get slightly out of hand if that shit's not tamed.
We're here to share how to simplify the little things to help you lead a more intentional life.
This is Simplified Chaos.
Hey, wonderful friends. Welcome to Simplified Chaos. This is Jillian, one of your hosts, and I'm with my co-host and regularly handsome husband, Nicholas.
That's me. What's going on, folks? Hope you all are having a wonderful week. We are, as always. And we've got another great episode here for you today. Jilly, what are we dropping?
You can chime in because I know you kind of thought of this more than I did. Matching your life to your values.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit how we feel like we've done pretty well at creating a life that matches our values, and in particular with our recent move. And if you're new to the podcast, yes, we just moved from Baltimore to Charlottesville. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've talked a lot about it actually in our last few episodes if you wanted to dive into those. And today we're just going to talk a little bit how we really just had some time to digest how we really feel like this was the right move, and how we've truly aligned our lifestyle to our values. So we'll get into that in a few minutes. But as always, before we start every episode, we love to show a little gratitude. So Jilly, what are you grateful for this week?
I am grateful for whoever invented Airbnbs.
Yeah, they did a pretty damn good job with that.
Yes.
Disrupt that hotel business. Holler.
It has been a majestical weekend. I had my first little unrushing getaway that I hosted, and it was originally going to be with 3 other mamas that I've connected with on the interwebs. But, life happens, and there were some things that came up, and they were not able to make it. But you know what? I had still booked it, and I was like, this is happening. I'm not sure what the Airbnb is going to be for. Like, I still am going to go there and going to have some time to rest and relax. And this beautiful Airbnb was in a little cottage on this 100-acre piece of property that on this farm. There was horses, there's a little mule named Burrito, and there were wild chickens roaming, and it was just a little slice of heaven and just what I needed. And my mom accompanied with me, so it was definitely a true-on mama's retreat getaway, and we were just loving the slowness and the nature and the long walks and the wine and the conversation that follows wine and all of the above. So I'm just... And of course, you for helping me out. But
I was going to say, you let us crash your party too for a little bit, which was nice.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about scheduling a little getaway not far from your home. And it's so crazy that it was only 35 minutes from our house now, because it felt like a different
area. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. The little nooks and crannies of Charlottesville. It was pretty awesome. So I am grateful for the flexibility and the accessibility of just being able to stay in other people's property, and how beautiful and gorgeous and rejuvenating it has been. So yeah. Thank you, Airbnb.
Holler. Good stuff.
Yeah. What about you?
Monsoons. I am grateful for monsoons. We live in an area for some reason that has not gotten a lot of rain since we've moved here in the last month and a half. So I've been doing a lot of watering in the yard, which is fine. Our water bill is a little bit more expensive in this area, but just a little bit. Basically, it's double what we paid in 3 months in Maryland. But that was just under the first month. I swear, like, something happened that month. I have no idea. Anyways, we finally got just poured on yesterday, and I wanted to go outside and just soak it all in, and it gave the yard a nice soaking. We had a nice fresh cut in the lawn today. It hasn't been cut in 2 weeks because they're keeping it high just so it doesn't die off with this little heat wave / drought that we're having here. But man, was that magical yesterday. Just watching the rain come down. And then seeing the little river of water come down the little culverts that we have in the front yard. Oh, it was great.
I'll just never understand.
Y'all probably think I'm a psycho.
The relationship with some men and their lawns.
Just,
I don't know. Of the land.
It just looks nice. I don't know.
Maybe
that's how we were brought up.
It's aesthetically pleasing.
It's aesthetically pleasing. I mean, when you think about it, you go to baseball fields or golf courses that are manicured. I mean, it looks fantastic.
I never thought to attribute it to seeing a stadium, because I do know
that's just
a
beautiful.
Nice stadium is really sexy. So I get it. I guess I'm coming around. It's just, when I think about how much money sometimes is dumped on lawns, I'm like, but for what? Like, we're not even farming on it.
Yeah, I mean, right now the only money that we're dumping on the lawn is just the water we're doing, because, and I guess we're technically paying for the maintenance of the lawn through our HOA, which is not a lot at all.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's giving me more time to pay attention to certain things. Like I weeded yesterday.
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
I don't know that
often.
I've ever weeded in my entire. I mean, I've somewhat weeded, but not to the extent that I did yesterday.
My dad would be very proud of you.
Yes, he would.
He's a professional weeder.
Rich, that one was for you, buddy. But yeah, no, the rain was much needed and very fun to watch. I had the garage door open as I was working on putting new hose stands together, hose reels. So it was nice just having the sound of the rain and doing some work.
#adulting.
Yeah. I'll stop with this rain
Hose
now.
reels.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some values, alignment, and making a life that really encompasses what it is that we wanted to do.
Holy cow. Like, where do we start? I mean, I had this epiphany of talking about this just because of how much we've downsized. So we're now living in 1,500 square foot house.
Something like that.
About 1,500.
Roughly.
And coming from around a 3,000 square foot house, like, I vacuumed today, and it was just, I had time to vacuum the baseboards. That's something I usually skip. It's interesting. I was thinking about like how long it was taking me. I'm like, this is kind of taking me quite a while to vacuum just this small house. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, but I'm actually able to pay attention to detail and get it done. Whereas before it was like, just get the most used areas and then let's move on, because I don't have time, or I don't want to spend that time to do all that. And it's such a shift from the life that we were living, where we would miss a lot of little things when it came to cleaning and maintaining, because we didn't want to spend all that time doing it. Where now it's like, we can clean and maintenance this area in less the amount of time, and still have all of the space and time and energy to still do everything we value, which is like spending time together as a family, traveling, just being.
Going on walks.
Yeah, just being and having flexibility and time to just kind of like be spontaneous a lot more than we ever have been. And I thought it was something to share, because I think this is not something, I feel very fortunate that we're here in this moment, and it's been a lot of work in progress. And I actually was just thinking about all the work that we've done to get here. And it all goes back to just having that conversation about what we value in life. It's something so simple that I don't know how many people actually do. They might think about what they like. They might think about the dream life that they would love to live, but I don't know how many people actually have that conversation with their family of like, this is what I value. How do we get our life to be a reflection of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty deep topic for us, just because there's a lot of things that we've really have come to the surface in the last year or so. And it's probably been building for a little more than a year. Last year, you were unsure whether or not you wanted to go back to teaching even before this past year. And then obviously COVID happened, and it changed the whole landscape of teaching. And, the reason why you wanted to do that is, to spend more time with Lucille and be, part of her life as she's in this very early stage. And when you really think about it, like, I think in the fall, they'll have the teachers back in school. I don't know if they've made a decision in the county you used to work for.
They did.
Oh, are they going back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you would be back in school in the fall. Mm-hmm. Whereas, we've come down here, we've cut our bills. We're able to basically, for the next year or so, if you want to stay at home and be there with Lucille or whatever, I mean, we can do that now because we've been able to downsize and cut everything in half. So like that's, part of like aligning to our values. Like one of the things you valued was being there to have that time. And I know there's a lot of people who would love to do that and might not be as fortunate to do that. But like it required us to make a very, very big change in our life in order for us to do that. And I don't think that that's something that, should be minimized. I mean, there was a lot of other benefits that we'll talk about that goes into that. But I think that's huge. Like just to make a big change like that in order to do something that you really wanted to do, that we wanted to do, as a family. So, I think that's probably one of the big things we can check off our list there.
Yeah, and I kind of thought about this today. I don't know what happened. Something with Lucille. Oh, she was bringing her Barbies in here, and she was like, "Can I buy some ice cream?" And she was giving me a quarter. I was like, "Oh, that'll be." I'm trying to get her in that use of like, goods cost money, so we're like pretending. And she went to go give me a quarter, and she gave me her quote unquote $2 for the ice cream for the Barbie. And for some reason, this popped in my head that like everything comes at a price, and even though like we're living the life that is aligned with our values, it did still come at a price because we did value family time. And unfortunately and fortunately, it's like a double-sided coin. Like we get more time together, us three as a family, as a core, our little tripod, but a lot of that time that we had with my extended family, like with my mom and my cousins and even your family, like that is slightly different just because we're not as in close in proximity, but we did make a very mindful and intentional decision that we still want to create accessibility to see them, even though it may not be as often. So we made sure that wherever we were moving to, that it was still feasible and not driving 7 or 8 hours just to get there. So I think I just want to point that out, that yes, we are living the life that is aligned to our values, and it does come at a price. Like I think there is something that you're going to have to give up in order to get what you want. And it's not all like you get everything what you want. You know what I mean? At least in this situation, I don't know if someone else out there is living their ultimate dream life where everything just came to them and they're just, 100%. And not saying that we're not 100%, but just that everything, there is sacrifices for that. Mm-hmm. And it's something just to, like I said, like we communicate about that, like talking about like, if we value these 4 things, is this worth doing this decision? Yeah. And I think once you know all your values, it makes it a hell of a lot easier and more confident to make that decision saying that's worth it.
Right. And it's not that we're saying that we don't value family, because we certainly do. And it's the reason why we're only 3 or 4 hours away from them. Like, think about what we're getting ready to do next week. I don't know if we're going to have an episode next week, folks, just on that note, but we'll explain why in just a second. But like, I think it's making us more intentional about how we're spending time with our family, when we're spending time, where we're spending time with our family. Like all of those things now have to come into play. Mm-hmm. So we've got kind of like a really cool scenario coming up within the next week for us. And it's kind of reaffirming like why we've moved out here. Is like, you're heading back to Maryland tomorrow with Lucille, and you have a tattoo appointment, you have a hair appointment while we're out there. So like you'll be there through, Tuesday, I think, of next week. I'm going to head up Friday because I'm going to play in a softball tournament this weekend with some friends. And then I have an appointment at work that I have to be at next week. So it's just like, okay, let's make this a really long extended stay. So I'm coming down either Thursday or Friday. We'll play softball over the weekend. We'll have a date night somewhere in there. We'll get to spend time with your family. And then Wednesday, after I finish up work for the day with my meeting, then I'm going to take Lucille and drive to my folks' house and then finish out working there through the rest of the week, and then have some fun with them over the weekend. Maybe visit, hopefully visit my friend that lives down there as well. So like, it's really cool just to kind of see how, we can get away from this house for a week, still be able to work, in my case, not have to take any time off, but, be able to spend time with friends, family, people I've played softball with. And it's just like really cool to think about. Like, that we have this home base here, but we also have a lot of other options for us, back where we're from. So I think it's kind of like those things. Like, it's going to be so much more meaningful the time we spend with folks. Not that it wasn't before, but just the fact that, think about, and I'm rambling here, but think about, before the pandemic, where we had all these things in our lives, and then suddenly it was taken away from us. And then you go out on your first date night after not going out on a date night for 6 months. It's just like, wow, this is awesome. I think it makes you cherish those moments and that time with them a little bit more. So, like, yeah, I mean, that's something that's really cool that's come out of this.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but one of our values is traveling and experiences and just doing more with people and visiting new places. And I never thought that travel, we could actually put visiting family in the travel category, because we literally have to travel to a different state to see our family. And it's kind of like a little getaway, going back to our old home state, which I never kind of thought of as travel before until now. And it's kind of like a fun little mini vacay, because I get to stay somewhere else other than my home. I get to see really great people and reconnect with friends, and we get to go out and kind of treat it like, I'm not sure when I'm going to be back, so why don't we try and plan this. And you're right, it does make us really intentional about the time we spend with our friends and family, and just make it that much more special, instead of just thinking like, oh, we'll see them tomorrow, whenever. So it does make you cherish the hellos and the goodbyes that much more.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. Yeah, like the next week and a half, like I'll be in Maryland for a week, you'll be in Maryland a little bit, then you're going to Delaware, and then I'm able to go to Virginia Beach to have a little getaway with a friend. So literally everything we wanted is happening. And one of those things was really being intentional and specific about aligning the house with our values, which is something that I kind of brought up when we were talking before, is that it just so happened, I mean, the stars really aligned with this property. The house that we built in this community is basically a no maintenance community, which is just, I've never heard of before, except for in like maybe, I don't know, certain retirement communities, maybe. And there are some retirees here, but the fact that we don't have to worry about like who's going to mow our lawn, who's going to take care of that. And as of right now, we don't have any pets living with us. So we literally have zero responsibilities when we leave this house, which makes it that much sweeter. And we're able to enjoy our time away, because we're not worried and stressed about what's going on at the house, who's taking care of this and that. So, I mean, this setup, less square footage, no maintenance, lawn care. I feel safe in this community. Like our neighbors are like already like communicating, like, I got you, like I'm the neighborhood watch, So I just can't get over how even aligning even the place where you live with what you value to make it that much more sweeter, with being able to do what you want and have that freedom. So it's just really, I still am like pinching myself. Like, I'm like, I can't believe this is happening.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think we're talking about all the things that we didn't even think about before either. Like when we were set on moving down here, we were like, oh, there's the wineries, breweries, distilleries, there's the hiking, there's the mountains, there's all that stuff. And yes, that's a big part of the reason why we moved down here. But like now we're just kind of seeing some of these, and I don't want to say that they're smaller things, but they're just kind of things that maybe weren't necessarily at the forefront of what we were thinking, and we're just kind of discovering these things as we go along. But like everything that we're discovering continues to confirm that this was the right move for our family at this point in our lives. We may 5-10 years down the road say, okay, it's time for us to find another location, but like for now, like this feels right. This is exactly what aligns to our values, and as our values change, we'll constantly reassess that and ask ourselves, is this the right place for us at this time? But for now, this is the right place for us.
No, I 100% agree. And I think something else I didn't think about either is that as our journey of just like being intentional and just kind of like letting go of the excess in our life, I never thought how good it feels to kind of let go of really strong ties to a place that you've been for a long time. And there's something so freeing and liberating about, and you feel so much more stronger and confident in your ability to like, if I can leave the place that I grew up for 30 some years, it's like, it makes you feel like you can do fucking anything. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that was such a big hurdle, just making the decision to leave where you feel so comfortable. And I knew I valued, like, one of my values is growth. Like, I wanted to grow, and I never thought about the area of just like letting go of attachments with people and places. And not saying I'm not going to circle back and may not end up back at Maryland at some point, but who knows? But there's something so great about knowing that you're strong enough to let go of that really big attachment where you're family and friends in order to explore and try something new. I mean, there's something so liberating about that as well, that I really didn't think that hurdle was there until afterwards, like until after it happened. I'm like, it's like, wow, like I did that. Like, it makes anything else that we dream of like a little bit easier, because we know that we could do that. So it's like, bring it on. Like, if we can handle that, we can do anything. And it gives you more of a kind of open canvas to like, I'm open to like trying another place. If we wanted to move again, I feel like we could do it. You know what I mean? Because that was like the biggest hurdle, was just doing that.
Yeah. And a lot of what we talk about revolves around where we chose to move and this move. But you can say the same thing, you know, when we talk about aligning, you know, your life to your values. We can be talking about jobs. We can be talking about friends. We can be talking about where you live. We can be talking about the things that you bring into your life, or the things that you let go in your life. I mean, there's a number of different things, a number of different ways we can dissect this and talk about it. You know, and this is a big life change for us. A new job is a big life change for anybody. But like we say all this to say is like, there's a lot of possibility out there, and there are ways for you to align your life, your job, the people in your life to what it is that you value. You know, so we can do this. You guys can do it.
Yeah. We're just a couple of nobodies, guys.
That's right.
And I have a really good resource to kind of help direct some action related to this, because I think we're really good at like sharing our stories. Sometimes we're not as good at being like, this is a guide. So we have some resources at the end that we can break into. But I think, all I can say is that it's crazy thinking like when we first started this journey, like, it's been such a slow process. So for anyone's out there who's like going through it and they feel like, I feel like I'm not moving anywhere, I'm telling you, if you keep making tiny choices that align to what your values are, you are going someplace. Even if you have no idea where it is or you can't see it yet, just please trust the process. Follow the fun. Go with the feeling. It's going to happen, and it's just beautiful once it unfolds.
It is.
Yeah.
So how about those resources there, Jilly?
Cool.
That was a good way to wrap that up, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, nice work.
So I found a blog post that I liked a lot.
I like it a lot.
The title was How to Really Live Your Values, and it's by Jessica Douch-Wheeler. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right.
Her name will be correctly spelled in the show.
It will. So she gave kind of like a little list if you feel like completely lost, like how to even start. I really enjoyed reading her, how she listed it out, and then she gave descriptions. And I'm not going to read the whole description, but I'll just give you a little snippet to kind of give you a piece of it.
Just a little bite.
So the first thing to help you live your values is, number one, write that shit down. It may sound basic, but writing down your values is the first step towards really living them. We have so many thoughts and ideas swimming around in our brains at all times, and our values can get lost in the swirl of negative self-talk, running through your to-do list, or trying to remember that one thing you need from the grocery store. Amen. And I write that shit down a lot. And
You're
I look at it
very good at
a
writing
lot.
shit down.
Yeah. So there's no
I've
such
seen
thing
you.
as writing your values too many times.
Yeah.
3 times each.
And in multiple spots. Write them
For
on your
sure.
bathroom mirror.
Yeah, even like small quotes that you put in like art, or
Yeah.
even if you got a tattoo, like just having that reminder, however you digest it easily, like keep doing it.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what the must dismount meaning is in a picture that's behind us, but one day I'll figure it out.
You don't know what that means?
I know what it means, but trying to figure what the quote means in our lives.
Get off. This is our bedroom. This is where
Yeah.
we get off.
Oh.
Oh,
all right.
gosh. Nick, you didn't know this?
Well, now I do.
Man.
You wrote it down.
This is all
in
in
a
the air.
canvas.
I didn't write it down. I took a picture. Oh, man. You sound... No, I'm just going to shut up. Number 2.
Who does number 2 work for?
Define your values. I like this. So once you've written down your top values, it's time to define them. Sure, you could Google the definition or look it up in a dictionary, but defining your values in your own words is a powerful way to connect deeply to what's most important to you.
Yes.
And I think, just to give you an example, like we talk about like travel, and we've had this conversation, like we don't want to go on this one long vacation once a year. Like that isn't enough travel for us. We like going on these, 2, 3, 4 night getaways if we can once a month. Like that was our dream, was like once a month to have getaways. And we talk about that and kind of, so it makes meaning to us versus just saying travel. Like, what does that even mean to travel?
Yeah.
Just
Such a
being really-
broad definition. Yeah.
Being specific, I think, is where I'm getting at. Okay, number 3, list the ways your values show up for you. I like this. So whether you realize it or not, your core values play out in different ways throughout your life. Some values may be more prominent at times than others, but they're always serving you and guiding your decisions and actions. It's important to identify when your values are truly showing up for you and examples of times when you felt really aligned to your values. These examples will give you clues to really living your values and building on these moments. And I think we kind of do that when we're like, I don't know, when we have trips or when we're doing something. I'm like, this is the life that I love my life so much. Like I'll even mention it to you. Like there's moments and times where I'm like, this is so rad that we can do this, and just like sharing that out loud and just feeling that moment, it just kind of helps you want to create more of those moments.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 4, identify when your values are out of alignment. So just as it's important to identify the times when you feel in the flow with your values, it's helpful to understand the times when you felt out of alignment with your values. And I think this is important because it's like we talk about, I think it's important you know what you want, and it's even more important you know what you don't want.
Yep.
So I kind of like that. And there's 2 more. So number 5 is to recommit to your values. So now that you've identified and wrote your values down, you've defined them in a way that feels true for you, you've identified times when your values have showed up for you, and you thought about times when you felt out of alignment, it's time to recommit to start your values. So start by thinking about how you want to feel when you're really living your values. Is it more joyful? Is it balanced? Is it healthy? Is it empowered? And I think I've just kind of noticed that this year, like I think living your life more towards a feeling versus a look has been truly like mind changing for me. I think so many of us try to live a certain way, an aesthetic, just because social media depicts like what a good life should look like. But when you just start following the feeling versus the look of it, it's just feel much better, in my opinion.
Feeling is everything.
All right, the last one is to create a core values action plan. I know that sounds really sophisticated, but basically just to take action. So she was saying that you won't get clarity on how to live your values just by writing them down or thinking about them. You actually have to put them into action. So start with your intention. What do you want more of in your life? What will you do to stay in alignment with your values? And that just it's like small planning each day. It's nothing complicated. You don't have to be a big flow chart or anything. It's literally waking up and saying, like, what do I want to do this day that's aligned to how I want to feel, or the life I want to feel.
The life you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so those were the 6 steps that I thought I really enjoyed how she broke them down and gave some description. And
those were great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I feel like we've done them in our own way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we may not have followed those exact, but it all kind of winds up that way, Yeah, so that was awesome. Great resource, Jilly.
Thank you, sir.
What about a quote of the day?
The quote of the day is by Roy Disney.
Roy Disney. Is that Walt's brother?
I don't know. I didn't check it before. We'll just say
all
it
right.
is. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are.
Very nice there, Roy. Roy is Walt. Walt is Roy.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. And your take action challenge.
Match your life to your values.
Hell yeah. And write that shit down.
Write that shit down.
We keep saying that. I think that should be like a t-shirt we make. Write that shit down.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Get your creative gig on, boo.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amazon coming soon. Just kidding. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you like this episode, please, please, please do us a favor and help us spread the message. You can do this by writing a review on Apple Podcasts, or you can do this by sharing this episode with a friend. And remember, sharing sparks a conversation, conversation leads to action, and action is how we're able to live a happy and intentional as hell lifestyle. We want to thank you all for listening today, and we will see you again, not next week, but in 2 weeks.
See you in a little while.